I'm here at the entrance to the magnificent stately home of Wentworth Woodhouse in Rotherham, Yorkshire's best kept secret. 327 rooms, 1,000 windows, a front of over 600 feet, making it one of the widest of any stately home in Great Britain. All set back in 1911 in a parkland of over 250 acres, enclosed by 9 miles of boundary walls. This was once the home of the fabulously wealthy Fitzwilliam family. When the 7th Earl Billy Fitzwilliam and his wife Countess Maud famously held house parties here, their guests included the rich, the famous and the royal. And in 1911, an astonishing 10,000 people were their guests at a joyous christening celebration to mark the birth of their son and heir. But none of it would have been possible without a small corps of highly skilled and incredibly hard-working servants. They were the top of their profession and in their own world just as elite as the aristocratic family for whom they worked. In 1911, just 34 live-in staff managed this vast house. Today, we're going to look at the life story of just one of them. Edgar Volan was born in 1879 in Highgate, London, the son of a coachman, Thomas, and his wife, Ellen. From his family, we know that he rose up the ranks from footman in various households in London to become under-butler at Wentworth Woodhouse in 1906. By 1909, he had achieved the prestigious post of Groom of Chambers, an ancient role found only in royal or aristocratic households. He was the most senior male live-in member of staff and the linchpin of the household, passing orders from the Earl and the Countess to the other staff. With rank came privilege. As one of the upper 10 servants, he dined in style at a table set with fine china and glass in the steward's hall, served by a footman. The men wore smoking jackets or evening dress, the women long silk gowns, and they sat on Chippendale-style chairs. As well as supervising the male staff, Edgar's duties would have included standing here at the entrance to the Marble Saloon to announce the arrival of visitors to important social events, for which he would have needed a superb memory for names and faces, and an encyclopedic knowledge of the peerage. Edgar would have inspected the staterooms daily, including the glorious Whistlejacket room, a drawing room in Edgar's time. He would have checked that flowers were fresh, fires laid, pens and paper provided, and everything in its place. Here in the state dining room, he would have supervised the under-butler and the footman laying the table for important occasions, and would have waited at table, his quick eye and ready action helping to ensure the guests were promptly attended to. Edgar also acted as the Earl's social secretary and would have managed the family's calendar of engagements, issuing and replying to invitations and keeping a meticulous record of visitors. In 1912, Edgar left Wentworth Woodhouse and moved to London to marry his sweetheart, Mabel Emily Howe. They had met 15 years before, when he was just a footman and she was a scullery maid. Now he took up a post as steward and she a cook. By June 1914, they had 2 daughters, Eileen and Connie, and Edgar became manager of one of Salmon and Gluckstein's tobacco shops. On the 4th of August 1914, war broke out, and in December, Edgar enlisted in Croydon in the Coldstream Guards, and after his basic training, he was sent out to France on the 8th of April 1915. Later that year, he fought in the infamous Battle of Loos. In a 1915 letter from the front, he left an extraordinary account of his first day in battle, a day in which he was to use up every one of his 9 lives.
In the afternoon, the order came to charge, and amidst a perfect hurricane of shot, we jumped out of our trench and away we went. Although we found it impossible ourselves exactly to take the wood, we paved the way for others. The remnant of my company in number 2 returned, but it was a sad roll call. only about 40 answering.
He suffered a shrapnel injury and tried to get to the Chateau of Luce, which was being used as a field dressing station. Amidst heavy nighttime fire, he took shelter in the doorway of the ruined church at Luce.
Shells now struck the tower, and how I escaped is a miracle. Going down on my knees I prayed, thinking of you all in my prayer. Huge piles of masonry came down on all sides of me, but I crawled out unhurt. The air around the church was thick, with white stone dust for many minutes. Dawn was beginning to break, and I made my way back to our trench.
But Edgar's day was not yet over. Back in his trench, a shell buried him in heaps of mud and chalk. He had to be dug out and stretchered to the field ambulance 3 miles away, where he was washed and his injuries dressed. He joked about his close shave. The shaving mirror he carried in his pocket, a gift from his seriously wounded sergeant the previous day, had deflected a piece of shrapnel from the shell that buried him and saved his life. Edgar's luck finally ran out 3 weeks later, on the 23rd of October 1915, when he was hit by a sniper's bullet and killed. He was 36 years old. He left behind a wife and 2 infant daughters, then aged 1 and 2. He was buried in the British cemetery at Vermeyze. Edgar's widow remarried again in 1921. Her granddaughter remembers her as a good cook who could magic very few ingredients into a fabulous dish. Mabel died aged 92 at Redhill in Surrey. This story comes to you with thanks to the Howe family, Mabel's descendants. If you have a story about a family member who worked at Wentworth Woodhouse to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next time as we look at the life of Kate White, head housemaid, who in 1911 supervised a team of 6 housemaids whose gargantuan task was to keep this vast house and its contents spotless. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our free YouTube channel.